Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special gift to give you. It comes in human form. Its charm is only outweighed by its sexiness. It is the reigning champion from our last show of So Say We All. He's a man, very, very special man, but a man nonetheless. May I introduce to you Mr. Dave Schmidt.
I apologize, by the way, before we get started here. I haven't had much time to really think about everything I was going to be talking about because I'm working ungodly hours, but here it goes. So really what it comes down to is we're really all our own worst enemy, aren't we? No matter, how we try to spin it, we're really always our arch nemesis. Well, when I was growing up, the person I thought was my mortal enemy was my father. I had never hated anyone for longer or earlier or more than my dad. Now this might have been because he was never there. Like literally no presence in my life. He never threw me a ball. We never played. The only time I ever saw this guy was when he was sleeping in a chair watching the Discovery Channel. And this is back in the days when there was none of that like Trading Spaces bullshit. This is like Discovery Channel where every episode was some lion in Africa trying to eat something. It was 24 hours of predators trying to eat something. And, but fuck you if you're going to change that goddamn channel, because he'd wake up and Hulk your ass. So it might have been that he just wasn't present in my life, or maybe it was, the few times he beat the shit out of me. There's one of my... In fact, actually, whenever I hear the word child or childhood, I get this vision in my head of this day that pretty much Darth Vadered me. I was 8 years old, and he was levitating me with his hand around my neck. It was good times. But, growing up, I just hated this guy. Well, my dad and my mom divorced. She divorced him when I was 14 years old, and I got to re-meet my father. And it turns out he's actually a pretty chill guy. He was never there in my life because he was working like 14, 15, 16 hours a day to try to provide for us. And one of the stories that I ended up finding out, even though I'd always been told, hey, your dad quit smoking for you, whatever, doesn't sound that important. But after I got to re-meet him, I ended up learning that for my dad, smoking was his mortal enemy. Now, to kind of understand this, he was taken off the bottle when he was a baby at 9 months. This guy developed perhaps the most heinous oral fixation ever. He used to suck on all of his fingers until he was 10 years old. Now, I don't mean you would like trade off from one. Fucker had both hands down his fucking throat. Try that someday at school and see if you don't get made fun of. You can only imagine how much that must have sucked. But when he was 10, he traded the finger-sucking thing, and the prestige that goes along with that, for smoking. And he smoked 2+ packs every single day of his life from the time he was 10 until he was about 36 years old. He had tried a million different things to quit smoking. Cold turkey, pairing up with a friend. He had tried programs. Homeboy took a pack of cigarettes once, tried to smoke it all. And I don't mean just all 20 cigarettes. He lit a box on fire and tried to smoke the whole thing. That whole, it's going to make me ill, I won't smoke again. Well, he went to the hospital because apparently it's not a good idea to smoke cardboard and plastic. And when he got out of the hospital, he celebrated with a cigarette. Yeah, that's hardcore. Try that sometime. Actually, it's not recommended. Don't sue us. So anyways, my dad just couldn't quit smoking. And I ended up finding out through him kind of how this whole story went down. And when I was 2 years old, my dad was sitting around one day, smoking a cigarette. I like to imagine that he was probably watching the fucking Discovery Channel. And I walked over to an ashtray that had, his used cigarette butts in there because I didn't know any better. I was looking up to that guy for what manhood was supposed to be, kind of grow into that role. And I picked a cigarette butt up out of the ashtray and I pretended to smoke it. My dad told me that it broke his heart And he took the cigarette he was smoking, he put it out, and it's been 29 years now, and he has not smoked a cigarette ever again. So my dad thwarted his mortal enemy for me. It's something that I've kind of daily lived with since I found out about this, and you know, I love him to death for that. I don't know many people who ever kind of confront that kind of thing. But my dad made it so that the thing that he had struggled with his whole life would never hang like a specter over me. And I'm very thankful for that. Because what kind of asshole would take the one thing that his dad did for him and throw it out the window?